Yes. Your hand? Yes. Oh.
Hi, thank you. I'm Robin from the Straits Times. I also have a question for Ms. Foo. Ms. Foo, I understand when you lived overseas for about 4 years, your husband actually gave up his job to move with you in the family. How difficult has it been for your husband to, perhaps take a backseat to your career? And what was his reaction to you, joining politics as well? And also, do you think having more women in cabinet will influence or change the way policy is made today? Thank you.
Okay, China, Thailand, moving as a family. The first assignment was very difficult. In fact, I had calls to, or opportunity to relocate. It's not easy because, Singapore is a great place to live. The kids in school, husband has a job. So it was not an easy family decision. Having said that, I think maybe we were lucky. China was relatively easy, and I think it was a great opportunity for the children to to have that experience, to learn Chinese. So we debated at length. Husband came along. I think one of the key things in our family is that we never felt who is sacrificed for who. We always talk about what is the best position for the family as a whole, and we always make that decision. And I can tell you very honestly, if my husband had said no, I wouldn't have gone. Okay, so I've been very privileged. Every time I've moved, the boys and husband, we would sit down, and then we would discuss, and it has to be a unanimous decision before we move on, because family is very important to me.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Rachel from the Straits Times. DPM, we've heard a lot about renewal, and we know that this time we're going to see quite an unprecedented number of candidates in their 20s and 30s being introduced. I think that there might be some concern from voters that when you have very young politicians and young MPs coming in, some of them have less than a decade of working experience. Is that really the time for them to have gained that knowledge and experience in different walks of life, and even to maybe get the perspective and wisdom that comes with age and that we see in the older MPs? So what would your response be to that?
Well, while we bring in new candidates, and when they get elected, they are young candidates or young MPs, it doesn't mean that we turn over all the experienced ones. If 20, 24, 25, or whatever number that comes in every term, we turn over probably a quarter, maybe 25, 30% of the MPs, and the ones who remain are the ones with at least one term, if not. In the current case, for example, some have several terms of experience. So we have a mix and quite a diverse group of MPs with different background and different experiences. And they bring with them their own way of doing things, even on the ground. Not every constituency conducts activities or hold events in the same way. So we have to have a balance. But if you just keep only experienced people and don't have a change, then we will be very stuck in a position where you don't have new ideas, new people, and you will not be able to also renew the leadership. The time has changed also for Singapore. In the 70s, 80s, there are lots of opportunities for young Singaporeans to rise in their jobs, in the organization. And the average age of Singaporeans were much lower than that of today. Today we are more mature, and the median age of Singaporeans have also gone up. So if you compare the current group with, say, those in my batch in 1984, we were all very young. I was 38 when I came in. And we have even younger ones, like the PM, who was 33, and George and others who came subsequently. So we need that constant renewal in order that we can keep experienced people for a while, and meanwhile, while the new ones come in, they also learn and grow from the job. That is the difference between us and many countries. That we prepare for this, we plan, think ahead, and we want to make sure that there is always a team of people available and around with experience who can take Singapore to the next level. You asked a question already?
No.
I will come back to you later when we still have time.
Sorry, this is a take from Sabah. DPM, we see today yet another candidate that who has been brought up and educated in other countries, Ms Foo from Malaysia. And are we seeing more such candidates who are our new citizens? And may I also ask Ms Foo to share with us her views on our relations with Malaysia, especially Ms Foo, I suppose she still has family in Malaysia.
Well, you saw one on Monday. We have Dr. Janil Puthucheary, and you have Mee Har here. Whether we'll have more or not, I think you just got to be patient. Mee Har, you want to say something?
Yeah. Maybe I could give some dates. Singapore is home for me for the last 21 years. So I moved to Singapore immediately after graduation. So I literally grew up here. So I can't think of any other place than Singapore as home. I had my first job here. I came here. You could say it's a love story. I married my husband, who's many generations Singaporean. His family has been here for many generations. My boys is going to do national service. I care. I want to make a difference to the lives of Singaporean, and that's why I'm here, standing, hoping to have an opportunity to serve them. As in views, my views with Malaysia, I really honestly will tell you, my views is really what hawker food is good in the rare occasion I go back to eat. I left Malaysia when I was 15 years old to go to Australia to study. So really, my views in Malaysia is really about holiday and eating good food.
Okay,
Thank
next
you.
one.
I'm Lydia Lim from the Straits Times. All three of you have talked about, how you kind of agree largely with PAP policies, and you've spoken about some improvements that you would make, but they're quite relatively small ones. And I think that new PAP candidates always face this criticism, yet more of the same. So can you tell us what is your response to that criticism? And also, tell us voters why we should vote for you. What difference are you going to make?
Steve?
Thanks, DPM. My own take of that is that each of us are different. We bring with us our own unique work experiences and growing up experiences. So there is definitely a diversity. But if we say we want to summarize it in the context of today's press conference, that we want to bring something bold and breakthrough, I think that it would not be pragmatic for us to actually come here and say that, for example, HDB policy, after many, many decades of what has been put in place, today I'm going to have something breakthrough and I'm going to implement this with effect as soon as I go into Parliament. I think that is not being pragmatic. So therefore, my response to constituents would be that give us time. When we have the right opportunity and the right the right opportunity, I think we would be able to articulate what we represent and what we believe in better.
Yes, Desmond?
Thank you, DPM. As a new candidate, I think it's important to keep your feet on the ground, to remain grounded, practical. We have big dreams, but I think it's not for us to talk big. We need to work the ground. We need to be humble. We need to understand residents. We need to understand fully the spectrum of views from all walks of life. The criticism that we are more of the same, I think, is perhaps a reflection of the fact that in Singapore, if you look at our size, our vulnerabilities, our surroundings, the reality is that there are only so many options for Singapore, and we move within those limitations. And that's my personal view. We talk of alternatives, but really we are moving within a constricted boundary. As for what I can bring, if I'm elected to serve, perhaps maybe a critical eye to legislation given my background. But ultimately, I think what's important is to be constructive, to bring your views genuinely and honestly to the table and let them be considered and weighed and decided upon. Thank you.
Yes, Miha?
My response will be very similar to both Steve and Desmond. I think it probably will be quite premature as somebody coming in new to have, very specific ideas as to exactly what we would like to, kind of change. I think the key is really kind of understand what are the real issues, and because, if you talk about policies that impacts lives, so you have to be very deliberative, you have to understand. There's a lot to learn. I hope with my background, I can add a new perspective. I think, from where I come from, having lived in different countries, my education background, what I've done at work, hopefully I would bring some new ideas. But I think it's premature to name them now. But clearly, and you can be assured, it's something that I'm going to work very hard and to make sure that I can make a difference. Thank you.
The reason why the PAP does a systematic renewal and bring in new people every term is so that we keep what we have, we improve on what we have done, and we evolve with the times, and we keep tab of the changes, and that is how we can go forward. We don't bring new people here to conduct a revolution. They are here to take part in an evolution of the systems, of the policies, and to be part of the team to ensure that Singapore still has a future in the years ahead. Otherwise, if we want to hold a revolution, then I think it's somewhere else, not in Singapore. I think Singaporeans too would not welcome a revolution that will shake up everything and get them completely disrupted.